Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. Yeah, it's so nice to be back, and thanks everybody for joining in again. I think community is one of the things that helps drive me to be here. I, do appreciate that. Um, I do appreciate that this community does show up in my absence. Today's topic is one that is of great interest to me. It's the topic is what well let me what did I even name what's the name of this, in fact. It's a guided meditations, right? It's about using guided meditations. Should I use guided meditations? And that's or what is the benefit of guided meditations, and maybe more importantly, when does the benefit of using guided meditations wane? And I think this is a very interesting topic to cover on Insight Timer, because that's Insight Timer's bread and butter, right? I mean, this is the main the main thing that Insight Timer really does. So the reason you would buy a subscription to Insight Timer is that you want to have access to premium tracks, you want to have access to the courses that are on here. And so maybe this doesn't apply quite so much to courses as it does guided meditations. Um, so, the first thing to kind of ask is, well, why do we use guided meditations in the first place? And so I am an MBSR teacher. That's mindfulness based stress reduction. And in this course, as you start taking this course, the beginning of the course is nothing but guided meditations. And as the course goes on, so mindfulness based stress reduction is an 8-week intensive meditation course. So what tends to happen here is that as you're practicing your meditation skills, the course starts with 45-minute body scans, right? And I think to the layperson, we kind of think, well, 45 minutes is a big number to begin with. And I went on a retreat with John Kabat-Zinn, the creator of mindfulness-based stress reduction, in September, and when asked why 45 minutes, he said, well, that it was really to kind of test the willingness of the participant to really surrender fully to the program. And if you're serious enough about the program, then you'll stick with the 45-minute meditation. And I think what I discovered personally through that was that 45 minutes of meditation, it really does start to have an impact on the way that, on my reactivity, let's say. So learning how to focus on different parts of the body was a crucial foundation to learning how to meditate. So, and of course, meditation isn't rocket science, right? It's something that is quite simple, but it's something that requires regular attendance to the process for you to be able to develop the kind of focus and kind of attention that is helpful in our everyday life. After all, hopefully this is the reason that you're here, isn't just to meditate, but is to begin to have a bit more control of yourself and what's going on in your everyday life. After all, that is the only thing we have control of, is our own self, our own reactivity, and how much control over that do we truly have? And this really is the number one benefit, or in my experience, something that has been the most beneficial to me is my change of ability to control my own reactivity and my ability to not say something brash or harsh or confrontational unnecessarily confrontational in a time when saying nothing would be better, right? And so I think this really is the huge benefit of the meditation practice, and that starts with this being able to pay attention to parts of your body with the body scan. And body scan is done with that with with that guided meditation, right? That's how we get started with mindfulness-based stress reduction, is a voice guiding us through each part of the body, so that when when we inevitably get distracted, and the encouragement on the body scan isn't to stop and rewind when we get lost, is just to pick up right where the recording left off, and that's to try to help us just be with that, and to be okay, and to learn how to be less judgmental about the distraction that happens, and also to help us to recognize that we've been distracted, because as our mind is going off and thinking about all these other things, that recording is still coming into the ears, right? And you still hear that voice that's guiding you through the body, and that kind of helps reorient you back to where you are in the meditation. And yeah, Carol, yes, the 40. I have a 45-minute body scan. I have all of the original MBSR meditations are available on my profile in Insight Timer, so you can check those out. But what's interesting and kind of ironic is that the intention of the body scan recording was that beginning, right? That foundation of your meditation practice. And as MBSR goes on, we still do body scan, and then we start to mix up other meditations in there, including mindful movement meditations, or yoga, but with the twist that it's not performative, like we might consider yoga, right? Like it's not Instagram yoga by any means. It's kind of yoga more to its original intent, right? It's moving the body with mindfulness, with complete focus on how the body's feeling as I move. And so we're changing up different guided meditations. But what also is happening concurrently in MBSR is that the amount of seated meditation, so seated meditation is introduced in week 2, and it's introduced as 5 minutes. So you sit for 5 minutes with no guidance, and you just try to focus on the feeling of breathing. And then when the mind wanders away, the thing that brings you back to the breath is yourself, right? So there's no additional external voice that's bringing you back to the meditation, that you are discovering your own wandering mind. And I can tell you from my own experience in MBSR that this mind wandering is harder to catch and is more frustrating when we go off for longer periods of time. And so maybe this is one of the reasons why people feel more comfortable with guided meditation. And then, what's the other thing is, hey, it's like I've got my guru, right? It's like, hey, maybe you use my recordings and you say, Ryan's voice is the one that makes me feel soothed and comforted and helps me to come back to the attention on my breath, right? And so the question is, what are the pros and cons of that? How good is it to be in that comfort space, and then what is the additional benefit of stretching myself out of the comfort zone and trying these silent meditations? And to talk about Insight Timer once again, is that if you look at the name of the app, Insight Timer. That's literally what Insight Timer was when it first began. It was only a timer. There were no guided meditations. There were no live events, right? Insight Timer was designed as just a timer that you use when you meditate to track your meditations and to help encourage you to continue, right? It was like a timer, but it kept record of your meditation, and it was kind of this way to cheer you on to make sure you keep meditating, to help guide you in that. And then over time it's evolved and it's become a bigger thing. And of course, I'm here right now. I'm hosting a live event. I'm going to lead a live meditation momentarily, and I don't want to say that there's anything wrong with using guided meditations. By all means, there's not, and I still occasionally will use guided meditations, especially if I've been away from my meditation practice for a while, especially if I'm finding that while I'm sitting in silence that my mind is wandering to an uncomfortable degree, right? To the point that I want to give up on my practice. And I really think that this is where the guided meditation shines the most, is in these times when I need that extra support, that I can use guided meditations to help me to stay dedicated to my practice, so that I don't run away, so that I don't that I don't give it up and I just leave my meditation practice. So this is really where the guided meditation shines the most, is in this assistance. But as we mature in our meditation practice, I really think that, and I'll say, every single meditation retreat I've ever been on has long periods of silence, and that is intentional because it does help our meditation practice mature when we don't have something externally, because it's this ability to recognize that you're lost that is extremely important to develop. That is probably the most useful skill that you develop in meditation. And once we start to be able to do this ourselves and not rely on something external to ourselves, to notice that, then in our daily lives, when we find that we're about to get angry, right? When we find that we're beginning to get lost in depression, right? It's those moments that we begin to have this stronger degree of self-awareness because we've practiced doing it on the cushion. We've practiced noticing that I'm not focused on what I intended to be focused on, that I start to be able to see myself and see what's going on with myself more clearly. Okay, so we'll get into the meditation shortly, the guided meditation, and just want to see, just briefly interact with the chat before we go. I would think how much the program cost would be motivating to stick with it. That's true too, right? And that's really interesting to think about. And that's a good and interesting topic for another day. Using the program cost to be a motivator for you, because I've just recently considered that for myself, like paying more for for more regular yoga classes so that it motivates me to be there more often. And Kabir asks, are we working on a guided meditation tonight? We are. And I think in the spirit of mindfulness-based stress reduction, so I guess the final thought is, hey, explore using silence, explore using the timer, right? Like Insight Timer has put the timer back on the front page. Try it out. Use a couple days, and I'd say just like MBSR, try 5 minutes. And after you do a week of of 5 minutes every day of practicing with the timer. See if you can extend it to 10 minutes and start to explore, right? That's what this meditation practice is about, is exploring myself, seeing what it's like to do different guided meditations, to do different things, see what works, see what doesn't work, explore using silence for a while, and see if that changes not only your time in your meditation practice, but also your own reactivity as you start applying your meditation to your daily life. And Sybil says, I like the guided meditation because I want to mask the tinnitus. Thanks, Sybil, for sharing that. And that's so interesting too. And Louisa says, I practice 10 minutes every morning with the timer. So thanks for sharing that. And I think that's, yeah. So, I mean, this is it. I guess I kind of want to open up the discussion as well as to guided meditation versus silence. And, yeah, so anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and do the guided meditation for today. So get comfortable. The meditation is going to be a body scan meditation. So it'll be a quick 20-minute, 20 minutes is quick in my book for body scan. So maybe you want to lie down if that's more comfortable for you. Maybe you want to sit up. But one thing I will encourage is that you come into stillness. So choose a posture. Maybe move the shoulders around. If you're lying down, find a way for your shoulders to be comfortable on the ground. And once you've found your posture, see if you can have some intention to stay still. A movement usually involves some interaction between the body and the conscious mind. You know, obviously the heartbeat, the breathing are something that don't involve the conscious mind. Again, breathing is maybe one of those that's between the conscious and the unconscious. But the idea is, in stillness, when we move the arm, move the leg, these are conscious efforts. The conscious mind engages with the body to get the body to move. So the idea is, can we relinquish all of these conscious movements and just arrive in stillness? And for me, always, whenever I first begin in stillness, it just rises naturally. I just can't help but notice the fact that my body is still moving as I breathe. And so we can begin by just allowing our attention to rest on that anchor of the breath. Feeling the body moving as we breathe. And then as you're ready, seeing if you can let go of this attention of the breath and guiding the attention down the left side of the body, all the way to the left foot. And see if you can bring your attention completely to the left foot, noticing the toes, sole of the foot, the top of the foot, the ankle, the heel, featuring your left foot center stage in awareness, the spotlight shining down on this very important part of your body, the left foot, noticing all of the sensations that are here. Anything that you can pay attention to. Tingling, itching, dryness, moisture, maybe nothing at all. And then guiding the attention into the lower left leg, the shin bone, the calf muscle, as best you can, holding the attention here. Exploring the ever-changing sensations that we discover in the nowness. Now guiding attention to the left knee. Moving the attention up to the left thigh. Front and back, the quadriceps, the hamstrings, the inner thigh, the outer thigh. So taking a moment to feature the entirety of the left leg in the forefront of awareness. And then on your next exhale, just letting go. Just kind of letting the left leg fade away from your awareness. And guiding awareness to the right leg. Down the right leg. To the right foot, holding the right foot in the forefront of awareness, featuring it once again, center stage, this very important right foot that helps you so much as you those of us who are able to stand, right, that makes contact with the ground, the inside of our shoe, the inside of our sock. Can you feel the toes, the sole, the heel? And now expanding awareness to the right lower leg, the shin, the calf muscle. The right knee. The right thigh. The quadriceps, the hamstrings, the front of the thigh, the back of the thigh, the inner thigh, outer thigh. And now holding the entirety of the right leg in awareness, from hip to toes. And then releasing that right leg. Just letting it fade into the background as we move from that right hip into the right buttock. Your right buttock is likely in contact with something. Can you feel that pressure between the right buttock and the supporting surface? Now moving across to the left buttock. And then the front of the pelvis. So noticing the pelvic bowl, kind of the region above the genitals, the area near kind of where the bladder is, and then down through the region of the genitals, the perineum, the anus, holding the entirety of the pelvis now in awareness. Just noticing in this present moment, what do you experience? What do you feel in this region of the body? And then on the next exhale, releasing the pelvis from awareness, just letting it fade into the background of awareness. As we begin to bring the attention into the lower back. So maybe starting at the tailbone and slowly moving up the spine. Noticing the muscles around the lower back. The muscles of the mid-back as we continue moving up vertebra by vertebra. You can even perhaps imagine like you're climbing a ladder as you go up your vertebrae. As we get to the upper back, noticing the shoulder blades, noticing the rib cage where the ribs are meeting the vertebrae. And maybe you notice as well the subtle sensations of breathing as areas of your back are moving ever so slightly as you breathe. And then going around to the front of the body. Noticing the abdomen, the belly as it's rising and falling with each breath, as the diaphragm is pushing downwards on the internal organs. Making space for the air to enter the body, including as well the heart, the rib cage, the chest. Becoming intimate with our own body. Really, perhaps examining our bodies as if it were the first time. Just really feeling these areas of the body that we may have neglected. Maybe it was a long time since I really tuned in to what my left lowest rib feels like. And so now I invite you to bring your attention to the entirety of the torso, the chest, the abdomen, the upper back, the lower back. And then on your next exhale, releasing, letting go of attention of the torso. And bringing attention to the left arm. So extending from the left shoulder down to the fingers, to the hand. Holding the left hand in its entirety in awareness. Wrist, palm, back of the hand, fingers. And then the left forearm. The left elbow. left upper arm, the left armpit, the left shoulder, and then releasing the left arm from awareness. As we bring into awareness the right hand, so starting at the right shoulder and guiding attention down the right arm to the right hand, to the right fingers, the back of the right hand, the palm of the right hand, the right wrist, expanding into the right forearm, the right elbow, the right upper arm, the right armpit, the right shoulder, so holding the entirety of the right arm in awareness. And on the next exhale, releasing the right arm. And now, returning to the spine and guiding the attention upwards into the neck, the back of the neck, the front side of the neck, this softer tissue here, the arteries and veins bringing blood to and from the head, the throat, the larynx. And then bringing attention to the jaw, the mouth. Sometimes there's tension held here, so the jaw might be clenching. See if that's true for you. Maybe you can try to intentionally relax the jaw a little bit. The cheeks now, the ears, the nose, the nostrils breathing. The eyes, maybe the muscles around the eyes have some tension. Just see if you can be aware. We don't need to relax them, but through awareness, if we discover tension, maybe it's possible through that awareness to relax. The eyebrows now, the forehead, the temples, the scalp, the crown of the head, the back of the head. And now, the entirety of the neck and head holding in awareness. And now on your next exhale, releasing the head. And then seeing if you can bring the entirety of the body into awareness. Just lying here, just noticing whatever is coming and going. Sometimes one part of the body gets a bit louder. You can feel something a bit more. And then maybe it quiets down and something else gets louder. Or maybe this part of the body stays in the forefront of your awareness. Maybe there's some pinching or some discomfort. Or maybe there's something pleasant. Whatever it is, just opening up to all of the sensations you're experiencing in the body right now. And so now let's slowly begin bringing our practice to a close. I just encourage you to really focus on the next 3 breaths that you take. Just as best you can, fully absorb your attention into the next 3 breaths. And when you're ready, you can feel free to open your eyes if they were closed. Move around, wiggle your fingers and toes. So, no bell today. Just kind of enjoy coming out of this meditation on your own. So thank you. Thanks for practicing with me today. How'd it go? And any thoughts about guided meditations versus just using the timer? Thanks, everybody. Just pop up. So if you, there's more to talk about on this topic. I've just popped up my card of my Insight Timer profile, and as I do it, I start to think about one of the other perhaps dangers of guided meditations, and that's like guruism, right? Is that being too dependent on one particular teacher. So it's this kind of potential conflict of interest. So I think that's another great topic for another time, is how to rely on yourself. In MBSR attitude number 4 is trust, right? How can I learn to trust myself and to not be so dependent on these external voices? So, I like follow. It seems funny to say it in the same breath, but follow me on Insight Timer if you haven't already, as that's certainly helpful for me. And if you need guided tracks, use mine. It's really, it feels weird to say these things together. And so I really want to do kind of a live event in the future on guruism and what are the pros and maybe more more clearly the cons of following one teacher in particular. Um, so that'll be that sounds like a really good one in the future. I'll definitely make some note of that. And Gene says, "Say what you." Thanks, Gene, for your donation. Much appreciated. And by the way, that's what this is always about, right? These live events. I mean, the guided meditation that we do is, that's part of the event, but of course, I'm here to open discussion, you know. And well, I'm not your only guru, Gene. I'm really. Well, first of all, that's a title that I'm really uncomfortable with. I'll just say that in honesty. I don't. The word guru is kind of it's got a lot of negative connotation to it. But then, I mean, I know. I mean, that's what Insight Timer is about, right? You've got plenty of options for teachers to look at, and I'm not jealous, not too jealous, I should say. Okay, I'm gonna get into some of these other comments here. Sherry Ali says I've practiced since 15, so thanks. Well, that's like a little trademark sign too, isn't it? That's cute. I've practiced since I was 16 or 15. Thanks for sharing. And this Sybil, if you're still on, while I was meditating, something that kind of popped into my mind while I was meditating was this whole idea of I use guided meditations to distract myself from my tinnitus. And it made me think about something that happened in one of my MBSR teacher trainings with another participant who had tinnitus, and was saying that the silent meditations had helped her with her ability to befriend her tinnitus. And I thought that was really powerful, that my tinnitus is here and it's gonna be here. I mean, I know as well, but I have tinnitus that it's relatively mild, that I only notice it when it's quite silent. But it's one of those things that I feel like it just hasn't, maybe it's not bothersome enough to me yet. It just doesn't really bother me very much. And I know that it's there. I know that I'll never experience complete silence for the rest of my life, and I feel like I'm okay with that, and as difficult as it is, I would encourage you and anyone else who experiences tinnitus to try silent meditations, just to see if it's possible to change your relationship with this thing that you see as a bother and a negative thing. It's here. This is here now, right? I mean, it's kind of like a phrase that I like in meditation. This is here now. What's here now? Who's here now? Can I roll out the red carpet and welcome this tinnitus that's here? So give it a try. Yeah, it's not. Susie says tinnitus. I'm with you. I don't particularly enjoy having tinnitus, but I don't think that it has to be. It's something that we can learn to experience. Maybe in a bit of neutrality. Okay, Alexandra, would you suggest to combine guided meditations with silent ones? I would suggest to do the way MBSR does it. Explore. Just explore. See if you can, think of guided meditations like like a bit of training wheels, right? Like neuroplasticity, the way the brain is changing as we meditate, this ability to recognize ourselves doing something that we don't want to be doing is very powerful. And when I mean that, that's meditation's the little one, right? It's not the big one where we notice that we're angry when we don't want to be. So meditation is noticing that I'm not focusing on the breath, right? Because I'm intending to focus on the breath, noticing when I'm not focusing on the breath. And so the training wheels are there to help guide you, and maybe not even, maybe a better analogy is like train tracks, right? So guided meditation gives you some tracks so that you're going down those tracks. And then you discover when your train is going and there are no tracks, it's a lot harder to stay moving in the direction that you want to go. So I think that's a much better analogy, the train tracks, and using guided meditations like that. So you can experiment what it's like to be on the tracks, what it's like to not have the tracks there. How does that go for you? Alexa says, guided meditations will always be great. Thanks for sharing. And Fernando says, great session and body scan. Only occasionally use the timer for silent meditations. Preferred guided meditations, though it's all good. Thanks for sharing. And this is really interesting, I'd say, research for me as well, because I've been working with someone who's writing a book about MBSR and where it's going, and this particular person feels very strongly about not using guided meditations, and I don't really share his I don't share his view in that way. I do think guided meditations are a very important part, and certainly belong in the meditation community. But today's session was just let's explore. What's it like? Is it possible to start to consider and to play around with 5-minute silent meditations from time to time? Sherry Ali says transcendental meditations twice a day and guided to go to sleep. Good book title, Not Your Only Guru. Thanks, Irene. And Sybil says tinnitus roars. So that's yeah. I have compassion. I have compassion for you, and I hope that you are successful in befriending this lion, this tiger. Alexa says, I will have a very deep and good sleep since then I don't have any problem sleeping anymore. Thanks for sharing. Susie says, I have a very hard time being in acceptance of my roaring tinnitus. Thanks for sharing. Susie says, I've had tinnitus all my life and I just ignore it. This is another Susie. I silently walk by the sound of the sea. I have accepted it and I won't get stressed by it. Thanks, Sybil, for sharing. Okay, glad to see that cleared it up a little bit, Alexandra. And as Jean says, I'm wholeheartedly in support of this. As you know, whatever gets you to the cushion, whatever keeps you practicing, and even doing some mindful movement, right? Like, I think some people get scared by the word yoga, and I find a lot of participants like this, sitting in silence and stillness doesn't work for them. That some movement and focusing on movement. And by the way, even though there's no guidance in all of these silent meditation retreats that I've been on, one thing that there always is walking meditation. Well, not always. I suppose there is one particular retreat where there's no walking meditation, but most of these retreats have walking meditation just to help keep you, to help give a little bit of variety. And maybe that's what we need sometimes, is a little variety, not entertainment, not I'm getting bored and I need to use this guided meditation or this walking meditation to cure me of my boredom, but just to give a little bit of variety to what's going on. Okay, we have reached the 1 hour mark. It's starting to become the sun, it looks like it's coming up a little bit here. So it's about time. And by the way, it seems like my family also has jet lag. I've noticed a few people walking around here this morning since I've been leading this meditation. So kind of curious to see what's going on, how everybody's doing. And I hope the wind wasn't too much. I did notice that while I was doing the body scan, it got really windy up here suddenly. So I'm so grateful to have you here, Chris. Thanks, Jean. Thanks, everybody. Thanks. I see you, Ren. I see you're here. Well, I'm glad to have you again. Hi, Vanessa. Hello, Clara. Welcome, everybody. It's been lovely having you. Been lovely holding this space and discussing this. And look forward to seeing you again soon. I think my next event is in 2 weeks' time, so we'll see you then, and hope that I encourage you to keep practicing between now and then, whether you're using guided meditations or the timer. One thing I always like to remind you is that there are group guided meditations in Ryan's daily mindfulness circles, which I'll type in here. And that is a way for you to continue to meditate with other people who are here today, who do keep up the practice. And then once I'm back, we'll start to slowly get into more regular. I'll be hosting events more regularly. Have a great day or evening wherever you are. And as always, let's close our practice with some well wishes to ourselves and well wishes to each other. So repeat after me if you like. And again, this is not a prayer. This is not something religious. We're just wishing well, hoping for things to be the best for ourselves and others. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. And may all sentient life here on planet Earth, around the universe, including those yet to be born, may we all be happy and peaceful. Thanks again, everyone. Take care. See you again soon. Bye-bye.